Thanks.
Yeah, it's so nice out. Is it nice where everyone else is? Yes?
Hey, Susan. I see Susan. You're waiting till 5 minutes.
Yeah, we're just going to wait a couple more minutes for more people to join. Some people are signing in. If anyone wants to say anything, you can unmute yourself now.
Just keep it clean.
Yeah, keep it PG.
What music you playing, Deacon?
Oh, so I have a playlist specifically for sleep. If any of you would like to download it, it's on Spotify under my account. I think my username is Deacon212, and the playlist is called Oral Ambient. So it's mostly ambient music. It does have Clair de Lune, which is one of my favorite songs, classical songs to go to sleep to. And it's about 2 hours worth of ambient sleepy time music. So at the end of the recording tonight, I'll send you guys an email with a link to it if you have a Spotify account.
We're also going to create a blog post on Recolor's website, and we're going to link the Spotify playlist. So if you miss the email or misplace it, you can always find it on our website. Hi, baby. Can't see you, but I know you're there.
I see, hey, Natalie, I see Gina. I see, is it Susan LaRosa in the corner right there? Hey, Susan. And I know Elise is online there too, somewhere too. Well, thanks for joining us again on our Meditation Mondays here at Brickell Vineyards. I'm here with Sarah Citron, who is one of the owners of the vineyard. And tonight we're drinking a 2017
Estate Pinot Noir,
which is very, very good, very good. Tonight's topic is about sleep. And you might have a few aha moments around some of the things we'll be discussing. And anytime I bring a whiteboard to wherever I go, you all need to be a little bit worried. No, I'm just kidding. Some of the things we'll talk about tonight is how to set up for a really good night's sleep. And believe it or not, one of the biggest challenges a lot of people that I work with have is not just getting to sleep, but mostly waking up in the middle of the night and turning off that monkey mind. And it actually has a lot to do with how you run your day the day before. So they usually say a good night's sleep starts with how you run your day. So I'm going to talk about something that you might not think about when it comes to a good sleep. That's your diet. A lot of us in America eat very, very quickly, and we're eating very randomly, and we're eating late at night, and we're skipping breakfast, and our breakfast is usually a cup of coffee until 2 o'clock in the afternoon, when we start to get either hangry, which is a medical term for angry because you're hungry, or your head starts to separate from your shoulders, and you find the nearest thing to munch on, and before you know it, you've got this distended belly, and you feel really lethargic and tired, and you just want to go and take a nap. In the States, we tend to eat kind of, breakfast starts, I'm not sure if you can all see that, breakfast starts in the morning around 9 o'clock, and it's usually coffee and something to nosh on. And then we have lunch, which is usually a sandwich or a salad or some soup, or a combination of all three. And then our evening meal is quite large. And we tend to eat our evening meal in this country around 7:30 or 8 o'clock at night. And then we plop ourselves in front of the television and either eat the food and watch the television until 11 at night. And then we go to bed, and then we're on our screens watching a show or watching some YouTube or Instagramming or Facebooking until 12 o'clock. then you go to sleep, and then you're waking up around 2 or 3, you have to go to the bathroom, maybe you have a little bit of GERD, little acid reflux, maybe you have a hot flash. That's all got to do with how your body's digesting its food. So in England, and I know I barely have an English accent, a lot of people think that I'm from Australia. In England, we eat a very different way. So we'll have breakfast, and that's usually toast and, of course, 2 or 3 cups of tea. Then we'll have 11sies. 11sies is around 11 o'clock, and it's a snack. And it's another cup of tea, because, again, we're British, and maybe a biscuit or 2 or something light to nosh on. And then around 1 o'clock, we have our largest meal, and we actually tend to take 45 minutes to an hour, even when we're working, to eat that meal. And we're with coworkers, we're with friends, we're with family. Some people actually go home and eat. And then when they come back after work, we have tea time. Tea times are around 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Obviously more tea, and then maybe some sandwiches. And if you're hungry after that, Sarah's acting as our camera person. If you're hungry after that, then you'll have supper, which is usually a sandwich or something very, very light. Now, the reason we do that is because we understand how the body works, how the metabolism works. I'm going to draw a little arc here for you. This is AM, PM. So the body has 2 different types of metabolic function. There's catabolism, or catabolic metabolism, and anabolic. So what's happening here, maybe at 6 o'clock in the morning, we're waking up. We might be a little bit hungry, so we'll have a cup of tea or some ginger or something, just to kind of get us going, and maybe a light snack. And then around 11 o'clock, our digestion, our metabolism starts to ramp up. So by 12 o'clock, between 12 and 1:30, that's when our digestive system is functioning most optimally. So this is 12 to 1:30. And then from there, the digestion starts to wane. So by 6 o'clock, maybe 6 to 7 p.m., it's ideal to have your evening meal. Because what you want to do is leave about 3 to 4 hours before going to bed. In the evening, into the early morning, your body's going through anabolic metabolism. So in catabolic metabolism, in the day, the food that you're consuming is becoming energy. It's giving you the energy to go to work or go for a run or run your day. At night, the body's clearing and cleansing itself and replenishing tissues. So if you think of the body as a factory, the morning crew is going in and making the widgets. The evening crew is coming in and cleaning the widget makers, cleaning all the machines. So if you're eating, and we do it in Sonoma County, and it's not a bad thing, I'm just pointing it out. If you're eating between 8 and 9 p.m., and you go to bed at 11, somewhere around 1:30 to 3 o'clock in the morning, you might wake up with a hot flash or hiccups or GERD, or you have to go to the bathroom. What's happening is your body is telling you that you need to be mindful that that's when the body is doing the heavy lifting. It's going through anabolic metabolism. And if you're consistently eating late, then you're going to continue to have those challenges. It might not be so, it might be mild or moderate to start off with, but by doing it a lot, it might actually give way to a bigger disease. Could even result in Crohn's or colitis, for example, or the worst case scenario. So doing that, eating that meal late at night occasionally isn't a bad thing. And typically what we do in our practice is we recommend that people eat 80-20% of the time. So 80-20 rule is where 80% of the time you're following a very good diet, you're eating properly, and you're eating really good food for yourself. And 20% of the time you're dancing on the table, drinking champagne, eating at 12 o'clock in the morning, which sometimes happens. So this metabolic cycle sets our circadian rhythm up. So if you spend the next couple of nights, if you have any sleep challenges, just recalibrating how and what time you're eating, you'll find that your sleep pattern is also better adjusted, okay? So those are the 2 metabolic functions that we have in the body which actually impact how we rest. And if we eat late, sometimes we wake up in the morning, we don't feel like we're fully rested, we feel groggy. So your night that you had caused you to have a pretty unrestful evening, and now you're trying to function at work. And that's where you start drinking more coffee, or drinking more Red Bull, or drink more tea to try and stay awake. So now your catabolic function at noon is waned as well. And that can also give rise to disease, at least from the Ayurvedic perspective, that's what happens. Okay, we'll come back to this in just a sec, but I wanted to mention to you that here at Bricoleur, Chef Shane is doing food. He's making some incredible meals for pickup. So I'm not sure if you are spending time learning how to cook or spending more time baking and really using that time wisely to change how your diet and your cooking and your food intake is happening. And if not, you can always come to the vineyard here, and I'm going to have Sarah tell you how it works.
Yeah, so if you go to our website, all of our wine and food collections are on there under the shop and then wine and food. We have some fresh dried pastas that Chef Shane made, along with sauces. We have an arrabbiata sauce and a ragu sauce as well. They're easy to store, they're easy to make. They come with instructions on how we suggest to make them. And I mean, everyone should make them between 6 and 7 so they don't mess up their sleep.
And everything from the garden?
Everything's not from the garden right now, but eventually it will. And the packages also come with wine. So they're either paired with our Pinot Noir or Zinfandel. And then we have other packages that are available starting tomorrow. We have a beef bourguignon package, and then also we have some pizza packages that are homemade, brick oven pizzas that you can pop in your oven and cook over the weekend.
Exciting.
Yeah.
We've known Shane a long time, and he's a fabulous cook. And if you've never tried his food before, this is a great opportunity to do so. Okay, now that we've talked about our diet, I can get rid of my whiteboard. The other challenge we have is disconnecting from screens. Just for the people that I can see here, by show of hands, how many of you watch television in bed? Okay. How many of you watch television in bed on an actual television? Okay. And how many of you, by show of hands, watch television or a show on your mobile device?
Like an iPad.
Like an iPad, exactly. Okay. There's no judgment because...
I see you, David.
People not like that.
It's my brother. I can do that.
So I'm not making that a bad thing, because I do that sometimes. If I have a challenging time with turning off my mind, I'll just watch something on YouTube, or I'll watch a 3-minute clip somewhere. If you are doing that and you'd like to start changing that habit, one of the things you can do is purchase these blue screen glasses, and they're $10 to $20 on Amazon. And what they do is actually they block the blue glare from your device and from the television, which helps to prevent that stimulation of the visual cortex, which keeps us awake at night. So if you are planning on maybe changing your habit a little bit, you can purchase these glasses and it'll actually help you with sleep. Now, that being said, I recommend turning off your devices maybe 60 to 70 minutes before going to bed.
What if people listen to meditations on their phone?
So if you're listening to meditations on your phone, then I would always recommend downloading that, because you can turn your Wi-Fi, your cellular function off, so you're not connected to the internet. And there's no pings or dings or anything like that. If that's not possible, then put your phone on Do Not Disturb, which turns off all your pings and dings. And then you can just listen to your meditation. And there are some great meditations out there. I recommend Calm, which is a downloadable app in the Google Play Store. I also like Insight Timer. Insight Timer is a little like Calm, and they have some programs there that are downloadable and free to help you get to sleep. And then the other one I have is Relax Melodies. So if you're the sort of person who likes to listen to ambient sound, you can set it for an hour or for 2 hours or an hour and a half to help you get to sleep. The other thing I also recommend for people who have spouses who snore or spouses who are on a CPAP machine, you can purchase silicone earplugs, which actually really make the room very, very quiet. So you're not listening to the soaring of the wood, as it were, from your spouse. And those are really, really beneficial, especially if you're traveling in a new place. It can it feels like you're in a cocoon. It makes you feel a bit more comfortable. The other thing I like to recommend is, and this is an old Ayurvedic trip, what you want to do is give yourself a foot massage. So I brought a couple of products right here with me. Typically with a foot massage, and if you've got a spouse who is willing and ready to massage your feet, then you just have them put a little bit of oil on their hand and massage the feet and the toes into the instep, and then you can reciprocate if you're inclined. Now, I usually use this thing called Nidra oil. Nidra it means sleep in Sanskrit. So, and you can get this, I actually got this in India. And there'll be a link to this on Amazon. You can purchase it on Amazon. But the base is sesame oil. And what you do with the Nidra oil is you put a few drops in your hand and you rub your hands together and you put your hand on your crown and you just rub the oil into the crown. And because it is an oil, you're going to have some left over. So you can rub your hands together again, and then you just massage your feet with the oil. And it feels really good to get back in touch with your feet. It's a very grounding technique, which I personally love when I have a challenge going to sleep. When I travel, using this oil is really, really good. You can also use coconut oil if you'd like. And then I've also bought, if you're not a big fan of oil, if you think it's too greasy, I bought a product that I love to use called Stress Fix by Aveda. And I have an oil which you can use on your head and your feet. And if you don't want to use oil, then they have a moisturizing lotion. And it has a combination aroma of lavender and chamomile. So it's very, very soothing and calming. It feels really, really good. For those of you who'd want to try the Nidra oil on the head and the feet, I know what you're thinking. My sheets are going to get really, really oily. That's true. So what I usually do is I put a hand towel on my pillowcase so it doesn't get too oily. And you're not going to douse yourself like you're a salad, for example. But if you like it on your feet and you're worried about getting your sheets oily, I recommend investing in a pair of socks like this, which are knee-high. Now, if you tend to get overheated at night, then obviously get ankle socks. But I love to use, and of course, they don't have to be green, but if they're green, even better. What you do is you massage your feet for about 10 or 15 minutes, and then you put the socks on. And if you have poor circulation, and if you wake up in the middle of the night because your extremities are cold, that will prevent them from getting cold. And when we were kids, you know, one of my favorite poses in yoga is happy baby, because you get your hands back around your feet again. You know, when you were getting, I'm not sure, you're going to demonstrate for us? When you're a baby and getting your nappy changed, or sorry, diaper in one country, you know, you're grabbing your feet because it feels good to grab your feet, and you don't have, you know, any hip issues or any hamstring issues. So getting back in touch with your feet is really, really soothing. And once you've got the oil on your feet and your toes, and you've got your socks on, you can kind of rub your toes together, and it feels really good. It feels really good. Yeah, very, very relaxing. So I'll put a link on, I'll give the link to Sarah for the Nidra oil here. And then the Aveda oil is very inexpensive and it lasts a long time. You don't have to use a whole lot. And if you're sensitive to smell, then coconut oil is really good, or sesame oil is really good as well. So that's a nice little ritual before you go to bed to get back in touch with your feet. If you were on the Zoom last week, one of the breathing exercises I love to do is the deep belly breathing. Now, as you're preparing for bed, you've got a lot more leeway to do more relaxing breaths, more relaxing postures. So I'm going to show you guys with our yoga props here, how to kind of get into a couple of really relaxing and restorative yoga poses that you can do before bed. So I'm not sure if any of you have bolsters and blocks at home. If you don't, it doesn't matter. You can use your pillows from bed. And I do love to use a nice eye pillow. Now, pro tip, if you go to a yoga studio and they've given you an eye pillow, always ask for a tissue. Best case scenario, you're using a eye pillow which is being cleansed. Worst case scenario, it's got someone else's makeup on it. So this prevents that from happening. You get a tissue or a Kleenex, and then you just use that so it's sanitary. And especially what we're dealing with right now, the cleaner the better. So let me show you how to set up for a nice, relaxing and restorative reclining butterfly. So if you have a bolster, we'll have Sarah go this too.
Yeah.
So a bolster and 2 blocks. And what we do is you make a little bit of a wedge here. So you've got 1 block down and 1 block at its highest setting. And then you relax your bolster.
And if you don't have bolsters at home?
If you don't have bolsters at home, you can use 2 or 3 pillows from your bed. Really, really easy. And then what I like to do is use a blanket. If you're in bed, you don't need to use this blanket, but I like to put a blanket underneath my bum because my legs are really, really long. And then from here, you sit on the blanket and you're going to simply lie back.
Someone said rolled up blankets and towels work too.
That's right. Rolled up blankets and towels work just as well. But again, if you're in bed, if you've got a lot of pillows, you can use the pillows. You want to be in a recline, maybe a 45-degree recline angle. And what you do is you're going to lie back, and you can bring the soles of your feet together, and lie back, lengthen the spine on the bolster, turn the palms open to the ceiling. And now what's happening is you're releasing your psoas muscles. And some of us might have a tendency of squeezing our butt together. Don't. Relax your glutes, relax the shoulders, and then you can start to engage your deep belly breathing here. This is really nice to prepare for sleep. It's one of my favorite poses, especially after running around the center all day and seeing patients all day. Having that is a really nice restorative way. And what you can do is make it extra special with your eye pillow. And just go night-night here. Maybe 5 or 10 minutes if you have a calm exercise. If you've got a meditation that you have, you can also do that. It's very restorative and very relaxing. One of my favorite things to do.
Do you recommend doing it in the morning as well? Like when you wake up, if you meditate in the morning?
If you're doing a morning meditation, I recommend sitting up. You can still stay in bed. That's what I do, actually. I meditate for 20 minutes in the morning, and I'm sitting up in bed. And I just recline just to kind of come back out of my meditative state. But at night, you want to really give yourself as much opportunity to relax and restore. Okay? So that's reclining butterfly. You can also lengthen your legs. If you've got tight hips and that doesn't work for you, you can just lie down and just lengthen your legs all the way down, and you feel this nice openness across the belly and the heaviness in the hands, which releases the shoulders. And this is really comfortable. In fact, I might doze off right now. Good. So that's reclining butterfly. And you can do that with your pillows in bed. The other thing you can do is, one of the really relaxing yoga poses is legs up the wall. And that, it's fun to do if you have a wall to put your legs up, but most of us have a challenge with all of that. So you can do the easy version of that. So I'm going to show you how to do it with some yoga props. You take your blocks, and what you're doing is basically building Stonehenge. So you have a little table here with your blocks under here. And I've got a blanket, which I'm going to remove from my butt and put it behind my head. And you're simply going to bring your calf muscles on top of the bolster, lie down, support your head. You can bring your arms out nice and wide. And that helps to relax the hips and the lower back. Also very comfortable. Now, what's nice about that is that if you don't have the yoga props, you can just scoot your butt up to the bed, lie on the floor, and put your legs on the bed. So you're nice and elevated there, and come back and do your breath exercise. Just scoot forward a bit more. Calf muscles on the bolster. Neither am I. So you can do these two poses, listening to a meditation app or a calm app exercise, or if you just want to listen to some ambient music, just to settle that monkey mind. Turn off that monkey mind, disengage your sympathetic nervous system and engage your parasympathetic nervous system as you prepare for bed. And just remember to sit back and feel really, really comfortable. So those are two really good yoga poses you can do. There is one more which I love, and it's really good if you've had a really rough day. It's supported child's pose. And again, you can use pillows underneath you. If you've got blocks and a bolster, what you do is you can put two blocks on top of each other, and then it's almost like you're building a wedge, but on the other end of the mat. And you bring your legs so that your thighs are in between, or your bolster's in between your thighs, and simply lie down and turn your head one side. Just like that. It really releases the low back. And if you had a teddy bear as a child and you want to just snuggle with your bolster, you can just bring your arms underneath and listen to your meditation.
Everyone needs to buy a body pillow.
I know. Again, you can do that with just regular pillows from bed. And it's just all about getting the low back and the hips released in this position. You can do 5 minutes on one side and then turn your head to the other side and just kind of relax and rest here. If you have challenges with your knees, you can use a blanket underneath your knees. If you have challenges with your ankles, simply use a towel or a blanket and roll it up and place that at the top, place that underneath the tops of your feet so that your feet are lifted a little bit and it's even more relaxing. You're at cold. I think Sarah's down for the count.
I sleep on my stomach anyway, so I could definitely sleep like this.
When we do get back to a regular life here in Sonoma County, and for that case, the rest of the world, check and see where you live. There are some great restorative and yin yoga classes. Yin's a bit more active, but you can do a yoga nidra class or a restorative yoga class. And these poses are usually very common in those classes. I have taught what I call an adult nap class, where we're in 5 poses over the course of 1 hour, and you're in these really comfortable positions. And people usually, this is on a Sunday night, people float home and have a really good night's sleep. So that really helps for some people.
We used to do candlelight yoga.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's really good as well. Exactly. So those are some really simple rituals that you can do before bed. And then for those of you who wake up around 2 or 3 in the morning, the best advice I can give you is don't pick up your phone. Leave it in a drawer, leave it in the kitchen, unless you're on call as a physician or you need to, there's someone you're caring for. Keep it away from your bedroom. Resist the urge to wake up and start to Facebook and Instagram and check your email. Sleep is really important. It really helps us with our digestive system, with our endocrine system, with our thyroid, with everything. And if we don't have good sleep, we can open ourselves up to diseases and illnesses. And we want to be able to rest and relax and really have a good night's sleep. So it's not all or nothing. Start with a simple ritual that you can do very easily, which is maybe 5 or 10 minutes before going to bed. And maybe instead of reading your Reuters news or reading your Instagram feed, maybe read a book, maybe journal, maybe have a gratitude journal where you write down what you've done for the day and what you're grateful for, and maybe focus on the next day just with a few notes, and then go to bed and call it a night. Easy.
Tricia said supported child pose with breathing techniques are really beneficial for the lungs.
That's true. Again, if you're doing the deep belly breathing, it's really good to draw oxygen into the lower lobes of the lungs. And by doing that, as we talked about last week, you're increasing metabolism, you're slowing your heart rate, and you're getting that deep diaphragmatic breath, which is so, so important to strengthen the lungs. Any other questions? We're going to unmute all of you, so if you have any questions, just jump on in.
Yeah, feel free to unmute yourself and ask questions or ask about personal, like anything you want.
We'll be linking all the products, all the equipment.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Follow.
we'll be linking everything to you guys.
Keep in mind, one of the challenges that we have right now is that we're all off of our routines. You know, we're not able to go to work normally, and some of us don't have the opportunity to actually to work at all. So what I'd recommend is at home, start doing something that is more ritualistic. You know, maybe get up and go for a walk first thing in the morning, and then do a walk in the afternoon, and then start your meal planning at 5 or 6 o'clock in the afternoon. So you actually have certain points in the day that you're accountable for your actions on yourself, and then it'll help with.
Plan out.
Does Julia have a question?
We can do.
Carrie was saying, what's a monkey mind?
Really?
A monkey mind is the mind that won't turn off. When you go to
Mind
bed,
circus.
start to think about all the things that you have to do tomorrow, all the things you didn't do today. You start thinking about your 50th birthday. You start thinking about what happens if, and you just basically sit and spin, and it's not a great thing.
Naomi Hansen said, when I drink wine in the evening, I go to sleep right away, but then I wake up in the middle of the night and have
The doctor was talking about this with that this morning. Like it relaxes you, it gives you, but then the reason you're waking up at 2 or 3 in the morning is because the effects of the alcohol are wearing off.
The question with wine, yes, exactly. So the question with wine is it does actually, or any alcohol for that matter, it does mellow you out, it makes you sleepy, but then it has, your body's metabolizing it. And alcohol is very hot from the Ayurvedic perspective. So you have this nice sedative effect, and you have an invigorating effect around 2 or 3 or 4 in the
Lots
evening.
of sugar in it too.
The sugar doesn't help, exactly. Alcohol turns to sugar. So if I recommend drinking lighter in the evening. I'm not condoning day drinking. Gina. Cheers. But, you know, again, food is information. Food is data. You know, your body is like a computer. What you put into it, sight, sound, touch, taste, and smell, our 5 senses, that's how we process everything around us. That's how we live life. So what feels good in the moment might have an adverse effect later on in the day or the evening or the following morning. You know, go to a wedding and drink 2 bottles of champagne and you're the life of the party, and the next morning you're trying to remove the hatchet from your head with the worst hanging you've had in your life. You swear you'll never drink again, and there's another wedding a month later. So it's just all about understanding your habits and your own idiosyncrasies. Anyone have any other questions?
I can't hear this. So he could hear our questions.
It's good. All right. Well, I haven't actually had any wine.
Does anyone do any of this already before they go to bed?
Yeah. Any experiences you'd like to share?
Yeah, I listen to like a relaxed. I guess I listen to relaxed melodies every night.
That's great.
Times when Vinny and I wake up to the mind circus at 2, 3, 4 in the morning, we put the music back on, and
Okay.
I always do yoga and stretch and stuff. But I am guilty of turning the TV on.
I have heard if you do use your iPad, if you turn it to red light
It's called nighttime.
or
Nighttime.
nighttime mode,
Night
it
mode.
Yeah,
gets all the blue light and
Right.
makes your
Doesn't
screen
really help.
more
It's
red,
still
Yeah.
very bright.
which helps like relax your brain.
Then the glasses that I was talking
Yeah.
about have that too as well, if you like the bright lights.
Yeah.
Can you guys talk about Calm and Headspace, those apps?
So Calm is something I recommend to a lot of my clients for them to either wake up to a meditation or go to bed to a meditation. They have some great guided meditations that help you sleep and stay asleep. Headspace I haven't used. Does anyone have
I
an
always about an hour before I go to bed, I start.
I've used it, but
I drink the Liberty Talks TVs.
Yeah. It's hygiene.
if you're certain ones,
Certain apps.
yeah.
Headspace is like halfway free. Certain
Yeah.
Right.
beginner meditations are free. And then
Okay.
If you want like a long meditation,
Meditation.
so to keep you like for a couple hours throughout the night, doesn't. It's not great.
Okay. Well, I also wouldn't recommend doing a long meditation at night because, you know, you still want to eventually get to sleep. So maybe a 20 or 30-minute meditation and then maybe some ambient music is really good. The other thing we didn't talk about.
We don't have any sound.
All those you work for.
Oh,
Like melatonin or something.
sorry.
Be mindful of.
I was like, what? That's all the piece of meat. I was confused. What am I?
No, there's more meat, as much as you want for later. But I hope they're warm enough. If just let me know. I can do my part.
I'll mute him.
Okay.
He's muted.
So sleep aids. A lot of my clients use sleep aids. It's either melatonin or it's CBD or it's THC or it's Xanax or it's something. It's either NyQuil, Benadryl, whatever gets you through the night.
I took Benadryl today because my eyes were so itchy. It helped me so much.
I was gonna say you don't.
So you want to be mindful of that. When you're taking sleep aids, your body can actually get used to
I
them.
found that if I take a lot of Benadryl, like I think the dose.
So if you're using something right now, maybe start to do some of these exercises.
Really clear.
They're bad on me.
Maybe start doing some of these rituals before going to bed so that you're not dependent on those sleep aids. Again, I'm not knocking them. I use them sometimes as well. But, you know, start to allow your body to do the work that it can do, which is help you get to sleep. Sleepy time tea is good. Melatonin is, you know, I mean, these are great sleep aids. There's no question about it. But anytime you have to take something to affect something else, whether that's a sleep aid or caffeine to stay awake, I usually recommend taking a look at what's going on in your life. What's your stress level like? What's your workload like? What are your relationships like? What's causing you to stay awake? What's causing you not to be able to function regularly? And focus on doing something like that. In the meantime, you can also use your sleep aids as you're working through those other situations.
Any more questions?
Any more questions?
Do you want to tell everyone what we're going to be going over next week?
Next week is going to be a lot of fun. Not that this wasn't a lot of fun. So some of you know that I just came back from India before we were all quarantined here in Sonoma County. And as I came back, I bought some really spectacular herbs and spices. Next week, we're going to be talking about boosting our immune system using nature's pharmacy, which are all fresh herbs like black pepper and cinnamon. I'll be talking about some of the spices that we use in traditional Ayurvedic medicine and some things that you might not know, like cinnamon bark comes from the same tree that produces the Turkish bay leaf. So we'll have some of those here. It's too bad we don't have smell-o-vision because they smell so fragrant. But we'll be talking about how to use them and what dosage and what they're good for. So it'll be a lot of fun next week.
Yeah. And this Saturday on Repiller's website, you can also find the Quarantine Kitchen Live, which is a live demonstration cooking class with Chef Shane, who's listening today. And we are cooking a mushroom risotto paired with our estate Pinot Noir that we're drinking today.
Which is really good.
Yeah. And then, like I said, we have a lot of fun virtual classes. We have more of these Be Well with Well Sonoma, along with our cooking classes, and then virtual tastings. So check out our website, and we will be sending an email after this with all the links to the products and a little recap, and then we'll also have them on our blog.
So thanks for joining us today.
Thank you.
I hope you're all staying safe and sound, and we will see you next Monday at the same time for Spices.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Spices.
Thank you.
Thank you, Deacon.
Thank you.